Thank you, Raquel. Hi, Nena.
Anna. Thank you, Raquel. Let me take out my cough thingy. Okay. Hi, my name is Theresa. I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, and I'm an alcoholic as well. And my name is Sunshine Day.
And just as a
So,
little, we introduced ourselves as Sunshine and Teresa, but you will hear us refer to one another as me, Terry, and she is Nena. That's how we call it. She's my cousin, and that's how we call one another. Just so those who are listening to the recording going, what happened to Sunshine and Teresa? Okay.
yeah, where those names come from?
Where those names come from. So we
Yeah,
had an opportunity to chat for a minute. And I just need to say this. Thank you, Raquel. Thank you all for being here. And I'm looking to be present in this moment. I'm doing finals. I have a presentation that I need to do for class. It's supposed to be at 6. I sent an email to the professor. I should be in there at 6:30. We don't start our presentations till 7. So please be mindful, help me out, because I get caught up in talking to y'all afterwards that if I want to get graded on my final paper, I need to show up today. So I just want to do that little footnote. And I've been like just trying to do all these finals and traveling. And then I've been traveling a lot too. And so just to be present right here, right now, all is well with you.
yeah, all is well. And I got you. I got you. I won't let you stay too long.
And so
We did speak earlier and we kind of settled that we want to talk a little bit about and just really focus and, back and forth conversation around prayer and meditation. And what I know is that, I mean, we're both sober over 30 years and, we've grown in so many ways, including in our beliefs and, our own personal, religious and spiritual backgrounds. And I guess, as I was thinking about our time together, I thought to myself, damn, I've never asked Terry, in her religious traditions, how prayer is understood. In your practice, is it like a conversation? Is it more of an offering, or is prayer something deeper? Do you call it prayer? What's the purpose of it in your religious tradition? I know we talk about stuff all the time, but I don't think I've ever really heard you speak specifically to that. So I'm curious.
it's interesting. I'm going to say originally I'm going to kind of include where I've been right in the last week or two preparing for this. This class is philosophy, and I'm studying to get my master's in humanity, and most of it is religious studies, and but philosophy has stumped me just a little bit. I usually say to the professor, "Can you pass the joint?" Because I think if I had smoked the joint, I could do real well in this class. But one of the things I started to do in my presentation with regards to, and I had talked to you a little bit about consciousness and the mind and identity. The class is self, body, and mind. And I started to utilize my tradition of how I understand the mind, the body, the spirit to reference what we've learned in philosophy. And it was a rabbit hole I wasn't ready to go to. So I kept it really simple, just on the narrative of my story of my life because of that very question. My tradition is complex. It is ancient. Uh, there is a theological, ideological, physiological, psychological, no, but philosophical idea that in my tradition it's scientific, that prayers, my prayers in particular of what I'm initiated as, are the messages that go directly to the feet of God. Olofi Olodumare. We also call them orekis, There's a rhythm. It's almost like in Buddhism when you have Nam Myoho Renge, there's something about a vibration and a tone that
Yeah.
sets out, right? And there are many other cultures that do that. And that to me is more of, I say, the complexity, like, and the responsibility of the spoken word and what I'm saying. So when I think about how do I explain that, there's also ritual, protocol. Um, I have prayers that I have to be mindful because when I do them, I open up this vortex of a portal that invites and invokes. So I'm now responsible. It's just so much. That's why I'm like, how do I answer that? There's this uh paradigm. How do I explain the Ogbashe? It is this kind of portal to the other realms, and there are multiple words of God, and I call upon all of them. That turns into a sound and a mantra that opens up. So that means from there moving forward for the day, everything is heard at the foot of God. So moving away from my tradition that we talk about, the simplicity I appreciate of the program is I love the prayers that are outlined in the book because everything that the responsibility, that I have as a priest, and we do, libation. Everything is very specific and what I'm inviting and invoking in my tradition. Prayer to the ancestors, calling upon all of them to be present and all of my elders that are alive in order to support what I am about to pray about. So there's this formula with prayer. I take the same essence of that and I do apply it with its intent when I'm praying in the program, whether it's the serenity prayer, the third step prayer, you know what I mean? The essence of it. But the intensity of what I have to do in my prayers, I think I'm a little bit more lax. When I'm talking to God, that kind of thing. But in my tradition, like you don't go in front of my orishas. We have deities. These are deities, right? They're not gods. They're deities, beings of light. I don't go in front of them. I can't just go and talk about anything. Like they always say, there's a saying, lo que sabe no se pregunta. What you know, you don't ask. So I'm saying I don't go in front of them and say something unconsciously. Does that make sense? I cannot go.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that, yeah, it's real. That's why I stayed away from that presentation because we have Ori. There's prayers where I call my head. My head knows everything that I chose to come here on earth and has the blueprint and all the instruction of who I am, and what I'm supposed to do. So every morning I have to greet my Ori and specifically talk to my Ori to be in alignment with how I move forward in the day rather than I just kind of like, hey God, how you doing? I'm here. You know what I'm saying? I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. I love that because it is complex, and I'm one who, I think what people say about me is that I take complex ideas and I simplify them, and I make them easy to digest and easy to understand, like quantum physics stuff and what you're talking about. For me, that idea of being in alignment or having the blueprint, like, yes, there's it, for me, when I think about prayer and specifically how it has to do with our 12-step program, and what is prayer? Like, am I praying to something? Am I praying from somewhere? Am I beseeching and begging some external power? What is prayer? And, in the beginning for me in early recovery, I didn't have a good relationship with spirit, with God, infinite intelligence, higher power, consciousness. Nope, it didn't like me. I was a dope fiend, a drug addict. I spent time on the streets. My life was in shambles. How could any loving power and presence ever do that to its creation? I had issues and I had a bone to pick, like, why am I created and I'm suffering? What is this stuff all about? And throughout my own recovery, I have gone growing from, some external power and presence that's up in the sky and that, punishes or rewards, to now having this amazing relationship with my higher power, with spirit, with infinite intelligence. Uh, I often call it the indwelling presence because it's everywhere, and everywhere also means right where I am. And so when you were talking about, being in alignment, since that power and presence is within me as well, how does my little self get in alignment with the great I am that is within me? And so my prayers, no longer look and feel like I'm begging or asking God to give me anything, as much as it's a reminder for me that there is a power and a presence and a life, and that presence and power and life is God, is love, it's joy, it's peace, it's all of these qualities that I want to name it and that I give it. And then if that's the truth about spirit, and spirit, most major religions say that, hey, in the beginning there was God and only God. Well, if that's true, then God created out of itself everything. And you know what was so cool is that I've been recently looking into our background, Tere, and our heritage, as Taino people. And I had been doing a little bit of research around Zeme, Zemi, which is a Taino name for spirit, and that Zemi is in everything, that it's in everything. And they would create these little muñequitos, these little dolls, these little statues, not because we needed to worship those statues, but that those statues were there to remind us of the infinite intelligence that's in everything,
Right.
And so when I recognize that it's in me, and everywhere present, then I don't have to oh, God, give me a Mercedes Benz, as much as I get to recognize that it created everything out of itself. Therefore, I'm one with this power and presence, not
Wait,
the
hold
power
that
and
thought.
presence. Yeah,
Okay, so then how do you, if you don't go, because it's an interesting thing how you mentioned I'm begging. What is the difference between begging and asking? Because we have a lot of prayers in the program that requires that I ask.
grant me the serenity, right?
Yeah, so
Relieve me of
is
the bondage of self.
that grant me, am I begging or am
Yeah,
I,
yeah.
and if the infinite presence is within me, as well as me praying to my Ori or asking and going in front of the Orishas, praying for your health, my family's health, um, praying and asking for stability, abundance, right? I'm asking. What I'm really doing is I'm not begging or telling God what to do. I am because what happens with the
With the
words
word,
come from, the word is
the
power, right?
the
The word is
vibration,
the
right?
vibration. So
Yep.
I'm speaking it. I'm not begging. So it's interesting to use the term begging. I'm saying my creator, God, Orisha, Ori, because that's what we do prayers, Oreki, where it's what I'm saying comes then through here, comes back out, comes through me. So it's this synergy. Because we have a lot of prayers. It's interesting that later it tells us, um, that we be mindful that we only ask for God's will for us and the power to carry that out, right? We only pray for God's will and the power to carry that out. But we pray for one another. We pray for the sick and suffering. And so I do pray for those things, but not in the form of begging. But what I'm saying is I acknowledge that presence and I speak that
And
truth,
that's
which
my
is
point.
different from begging. Yeah.
Yes, and that is exactly my point. My point is that we don't have to come. I mean, in the beginning, I found that my prayers were begging God. We're beseeching, but we don't. That's the point. Is that once we get past a certain stage, and like for me, that I recognize my oneness in spirit, is that there is power in my word. I'm at first cause. So what am I speaking of, and what is it that I'm saying? You know, for those who believe in scripture, it says, pray believing it's done. Like pray knowing that it's done, that it's done in the mind of God, that it's done in the mind of spirit. So when I quote unquote, when people say pray for me, my prayers are more now along the lines of affirmation, of knowing their health and wholeness, of knowing that God's will is going to be done. So, I mean, really what I'm doing is I'm just being in alignment with that which is already in the mind of God, which is already the perfect and highest good for whomever I am quote unquote praying for. But it comes from a
Really,
different
aren't I in
place
agreement?
now.
So aren't
Yes.
I really what I'm doing is I am
Say
in
that again.
agreement. Aren't I actually now am I not stating a commitment and an agreement as opposed to really
Yes.
asking? Because it already
Yeah.
is.
Yes.
God already grants us serenity. God already grants
Yes.
us wisdom. It already is. God already grants us abundance. All of our, it's already there. It already
It,
is. Who ego
yes.
self, who is missing the truth of what is me. So it's almost like I enter into acknowledgement, awareness, and contract through my words that I recognize what is. That's how when we talk about prayer, including in my religion, it's kind of like when I'm saying it, it may sound like I'm asking or begging or thinking I'm lacking, but really who comes from the place of lack, maybe ego self. So the moment I acknowledge and say it, then it becomes one with what already is. Because, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, because I know you and I go back and forth. Remember I always did the joke with Lovey about if I were a rock, and I want to keep saying to myself, I'm a flower. And if I keep stating it, speaking it, claiming it, after a while, when am I in denial that I'm a rock? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, so I have to be mindful that it humbles me to ask. I also become humbled, not begging, acknowledging that there is a power greater than me, that I enter into that agreement of whatever is. And the prayer to me does that. It's kind of like it's a humbling, God, I offer myself to thee, right? It's kind of,
Myself to thee.
yeah, it's a collaboration. It's my participation. Because if I just assume it already is, I have it, I claim it, I got it, I can get caught up in arrogance and a sense of entitlement and not even acknowledge that something else infinitely is all there and out there. I can get caught up like that.
There is that possibility, um, uh, yeah, when that part of us, which is ego based, gets in the way of that. And however, when it isn't, when I am in this place of, in my own finite self, there is no separation in my own like my human experience sees the lack and the limitation. My human experience is the ego. My human experience is that there's evil and hatred. And yet in the fullness of spirit, when I'm in prayer, in this affirmative prayer, in this prayer, what prayer does for me is it simply reminds me, it brings me back to center, to the truth, so that I can focus on the qualities of spirit and recognize that that also lives in me, and that when I'm steeped in that, that's when my la vista, that's when my outlook shifts and
Mm-hmm.
changes. And instead of me seeing all the places of lack and limitation, I'm recognizing all the places of abundance, all the places where there's peace. I think too, I'm not one who watches the news a lot. So, I'm still informed. I still know that there's, stuff happening in the world. And yet, if that's where my focus goes, I think the world is going to hell in a handbasket. But if I actually am in alignment and then am in communion with you, with my neighbors, with the people around me, damn, there's so much love in the world and so much acceptance in the world and so much peace in the world. Um, that's kind of what prayer does for me as well. It brings me back to center, not to believe the hype of the news of, yeah, is that still going on? Absolutely. And I'm not in denial about it. But it's almost like it's like getting sober, in the sense of when I focus on the drink or the pill or, the drug or whatever, all of a sudden the obsession comes, I got the blinders on and I'm on a run. That's it. But when I actually begin to see myself as someone who's sober, someone who's productive, someone who's making a difference, then my life tends to go in that way. And that's kind of also how I see prayer. Prayer is where I focus on the qualities of spirit and how those express in, through, and as me, and how I can be kind of like the Saint Francis of Assisi, right? That where there is hatred, I might bring love. That where there's discord, I may bring harmony. Because we live on a planet of duality, and we have the human experience and we also have the spiritual experience that we are indeed both, at least for me,
Well, the funny
I
thing is that I always say the funny thing about that prayer is St. Francis himself didn't write it. It was one of
no,
his scholars who wrote it. And St. Francis couldn't even live up to it. That was something he talked about often in his teaching, was how do we in our human experience and our humanness strive towards that. And so I'm praying. And the other thing I was thinking about when you mentioned was, then we could shift to meditation, because where do the answers come to the prayer? Um, what I'm doing is I'm inviting and invoking. I'm aligning, inviting, and invoking. I believe in reverence to ancestors, honoring the ancestors, going to them for counsel, going them for direction, and I sit with the ancestors and I ask, right? Guide me, show me, support me, give me insight. Because really what I'm even asking God, thy will, not mine, be done. I always say, okay, we know how to talk, how we listen. Like, where do you get the answer from? Am I praying all day long so I could just align myself on what is? Where do I now be able to hear the answer to the question, or how do I position myself to be in alignment in what I'm asking, right? If I'm saying, God, grant me, God, please help me to stay sober, but I do nothing to take any action, right? Then I'm saying, oh, I've been asking God to keep me sober, but I keep going to the dope house. So I guess God don't want me to get sober. Do you know what I mean? Some people actually believe that, right? So what I'm saying is, help me, and hopefully my feet will go towards that I can see the road that would lead me to sobriety. So the gift of awareness becomes pretty awesome. And how do I open myself to receive the guidance of spirit, of ancestors, of Orisha? We also have form of divination, where we divine to get those answers for the questions that we have about the drama of life. And it is scientific numbers that most people refer to scripture. There's 356. Out of the 356, we call them oldus. There's another 356 of interpretation. They're all born from 4 oldus that give birth, and they're mirrors of one another. And when I'm asking, whatever I'm asking or inviting for clarity, for direction, for support, then I'm given instruction. I'm given instruction and support, just like the big book gives us instruction on how to stay sober. I can ask God, keep me sober, but if I don't follow the blueprint, you know what I mean? Then I'm just asking a lot, right?
Yeah.
So how do we shift from this place of, okay, I'm aligning myself, I'm inviting, I have the power of the spoken word. Real quick, I remember Daddy, my father, I always called him like Confucius, and as a Babalao, the role of the highest priest in our tradition is father of secrets, and all of his words are prayer. So just like in the four agreements, be impeccable with your word. So Daddy was a man of few words. And sometimes we see that with old timers. They say very little because what I'm saying, right? My words are really sacred. And so I believe, how do I grow spiritually mature where my prayers are they're a lot more simple and sweet. And I spend most of my time being in alignment, knowing I'm in alignment with what is. And now my prayers are intuitive and I hear intuitively the response to them. Do you know what I mean by that? You know what I'm saying?
Say
No.
more. Say a little bit more.
So where I'm now speaking necessarily physically less, but it's all happening internally. And I developed that through meditation, where my conversations take place without having to, that I'm constantly in meditation. You know what I'm saying? I'm constantly not having to speak it,
Your word.
but I'm saying it within, I'm hearing it within, and then my actions are a representation of that, I guess, internal conversation with self and spirit and God, that I'm living
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And what's beautiful about what you're saying is that there are so many paths to communing in spirit, with spirit, as spirit, to hearing the answers, the things that are needed to be heard and or said. And how that has shifted for me a little bit, or actually a lot, is that because my prayers are not asking for it, are not asking for anything. Like my
Okay, wait, I want
my
to stop you
prayers.
1 second. Wait, before you hold thought. You've said that word 2 or 3 times.
What word?
I'm not asking for anything. And when I hear anything, it sounds very absolute. So does that mean, I'm
No,
assuming,
for much. For much.
okay,
There are
okay.
times where yeah.
I'm just checking because we
Yeah.
have a lot of prayers that we ask even within our program. So God grant me. So you're saying you don't
Yeah.
use that prayer?
And
Okay.
so for me, prayers are simply reminders. They're not even really they're not really, they're like, because God is right here for me, God is within me, in me, as me, through me. Prayers are more of a reminder for me. They are more of stating what is true. So, for instance, the scientific prayer that I pray is, I recognize that there's one power, one presence, one life, and that it created everything out of itself. Therefore, its life is my life, that my life is the life of God in human form. Like the life of God is a tree, in tree form. Like the life of God is the life of my mellow day, my dog. Or the ocean is the life of God in ocean form. And that what is true about God is that God is love and joy and peace and abundance and all of that. So if that's the truth of God, and I'm one with this power and presence, and it created me out of itself, then hey, the genes don't lie, the DNA don't lie. And so what I do mostly is I make statements of fact.
Hmm.
So if I'm broke, what I say is there's one power, one presence, and one life. That life is God. God is abundant. God don't own nothing. God is everything. So since I am one with this power and presence, the truth about me is that I'm abundant. So I'm grateful for my abundance, and I let it be so. Now, did that put money in my bank account? Hell no. But when I remind myself of that truth, I start looking for all of the places that prove what I just said. And so that's
Exactly.
kind of what I mean. That's kind of what I
Okay.
mean, that I don't ask for nothing. I make statements of the absolute, which you said
Okay.
anything, right? But I make statements that are absolutely true about God. And I remind myself that I'm one with this power and presence. So if it's true about God, it has to be true about me. Otherwise, I am other than God. I am an otherness. And if in the beginning there was God and only God, there was nothing else.
But
So,
that's a belief. That's a belief.
right, that is a
That's a
belief.
belief. Because there are
That's
those
a
who may not believe that. Like I have, um, I always mention how I had a sponsee who said, I believe God is going to strike me with lightning and I'm going to burn in hell. What do you think? I think you're going to be struck by lightning and you're going to burn in hell.
because it is done
Right?
unto me as I believe, right?
He's like, oh, what? Well, change that because, and there are so many people who live their lives according to that belief. It doesn't make it
Yeah,
wrong. They make
right.
choices in their lives based on the idea. Just like I don't rob a bank because I don't want to go to jail. Do you know what I'm saying? Like I make choices based on certain consequences and rules of those, the decision, whatever. So if I'm looking at my belief system tells me that, but if my belief system says I have a soul contract that says you will live this life broke. And living in brokenness, your abundance is serving your
Others.
abundance others. See what I'm saying? It's all about perspective. Because
Right.
I'm telling you, I've gotten caught up in, yo, people have told
I
me
know.
you know what I'm saying? The reason why you broke is because you're not stating and claiming and proclaiming, right? All the creator that it belongs to you. And I've gotten caught up in trying to do that and wondering why I'm getting more depressed and falling into self-pity, like shaming. Something's wrong with me. I'm not
And there's
fully in alignment.
nothing wrong. Right.
But you see what I'm saying? With the energy, with the quantum, the vibration, and I'm
Right.
getting caught up like I'm not praying right. I'm not stating it right. I'm not feeling it. And I've done this dance. When finally, my elders have been like, you can't do what everybody does. Everybody
No.
has their soul contract and path. And your abundance comes by charity. Your abundance comes by being charity. Because the more you don't have and just serve my children, all will be well. But the moment you start saying,
Absolutely.
so what is abundance? So I had to start changing, right? What I even perceive abundance to be. And then I'm always guided. Like I go, okay, either I'm going to have a phone. That was yesterday. Either I'm going to have a phone by the end of the day or I'm not going to have a phone. If I'm supposed to have a phone, I will. That means I need to talk to people. If I don't have a phone, that means maybe I'm supposed to be silent and not talk to people. And they're both abundant. Do you know what I'm saying? If
Absolutely.
it shows up to pay for the phone, that's abundantly. I'll be talking to a lot of people. And if it doesn't show up, that means abundantly I'm going to be in silence. So changing that
Exactly. No,
idea.
we're saying the same thing. And it's
Same thing.
because I said at the end of the prayer, it didn't put any money in my account, but what it has me looking for is all the ways that I
Yes.
am abundant. All the
Yep.
ways that I am abundant, because I get to recognize that. And I think that, that for me is the beauty of one type of prayer, which is a prayer that I use, that it's of affirmative prayer. And then, in the meditation for me, the meditation for me, depending on the meditation that I do, it's either to quiet the mind so that I'm focused on one thing, because just even in waking up, there are some days where it's just like, I'm so glad you're awake. There's so much I need to tell you. You got to do this. Remember to do that. Oh my God,
You
what
fell
time is it?
asleep
Did you ta ta ta
you
ta ta?
fell asleep in the middle of my conversation.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And for me, that meditation is simply, bringing my attention to one thing. And then on amazing days of meditation, because it has been a practice, it's just simply a stillness. And I've been waking up, I've been waking up at 3:30 in the morning. And at first I was annoyed. I was annoyed because it's like, I love sleep, and especially some good, delicious, deep sleep where I'm snoring or I'm like, I'm in it and I got saliva all
How
down,
about it?
like I love me some sleep. And to be awake at 3:30, it was, I was like mad about it. But, mommy died at 3:30 in the morning. And so I
Mm,
began to kind of go, okay, so what is this? And I just started going into meditation, and just simply like, there has to be there's there's something that's causing me to wake up at 3:30. What is it? I'm staying curious and just being, before the world starts to talk,
hmm
I'm just listening to that deep silence and just being in that silence, listening with my inner ear, not these on the side of my head, but that inner ear, those inner ears that's about like intuition or a nudge or a hint or a whisper. And some days I end up falling back asleep, and then others, I'm just into this deep meditation for a couple of hours, and you know, then I get to do what I get to do.
I
Um,
can get so caught up in meditation that I forget I got to come back into the world.
yeah.
I think I do well out in the Himalayas, you know what I mean, in the mountains and spending all day meditating. I think the key has been, you know, how do I remember we were in Hawaii at that conference and we walked all the way up the Diamond Head Mountain or whatever. And that was a whole spiritual experience within itself. And we get up and see the sunrise and everybody's just so spiritually in love. And then we come down and they start fighting and fussing and you know what I mean? There's this whole thing of how do I take that experience at the top of the mountain and apply it as I come down and down from the mountain. I remember telling Daddy once, and so I share this a lot with my sponsor. I want to go away from everyone. I want to live in isolation. And if I live away from isolation, I'll have no disturbance. That's why people go to spiritual retreats, quiet retreats. They always leave. Almost like the old saying of leave all worldly possessions in order to be completely spiritually, you know what I mean?
Or
Engulfed.
go to the inner closet, the upper room, ahí
Yeah.
donde no te
Room.
molestan, where when nobody's gonna
Closet.
bother you. Go in the
Right.
closet, shut the
And
door.
but is the practice that, or how do I utilize that tool of alignment to now walk here amongst all? I've heard somebody say, you want to see how spiritual you can tell your spiritual, I don't know, maturity or your spiritual whatever when you're driving. So that if you're driving, you're like, it's all good. Go ahead. So I think I'm still working on it. But for some reason I get behind the wheel and I got road rage. Now all of a sudden I'm letting out all this aggression. I'm like usually chill. It's all good. God is good. And I get behind the wheel and I'm like, oh, motherfuckers, like, what is that all about? Like, so, but how can it's been important for me to bring the world of spirit and the physical world together harmoniously because before I came to A, both those worlds were completely polar opposite, uh, and so separate from one another. Like how through prayer and meditation, through the practice of the steps, through all the practices that I do, that they are one. That is being in the now. The fourth dimension, being present. Meditation teaches me the comfortability of being right here, right now. But sometimes I can go into, have you ever, some people compete in competition with me in meditation. Like sit with me in meditation and they be like, how long are you going to be down there? Like she beats me every time. I can go to meditation for hours. I could stand like a tree for hours. I used to play around with that. Come back earth to daddy, earth to daddy. So how do I go to that place? And I'm going there so I can learn to know what that inner voice sounds like. That becomes the working part of my mind and my body, and familiar. That whatever I'm doing, wherever I go, even when I'm off the mountain, that I hear. This is what I believe, the 12 steps. It's ancient. It's nothing original. What they help me to do and what they bring me in step 11 is I start hearing, go right, go left, call her, go there. And I do it without question. That's how
Yeah.
I train people to develop spiritually. Follow the spiritual thread. You're walking down the street and you hear, grab those flowers. And what we tend to do is, what am I going to do with the flowers? Why would I take those flowers? Who are the flowers for? Just take them. And if you keep doing that, eventually this is how I start living, and I'll come to rely upon it, trust on it, so I can know that I can see where the abundance is, so I can get. And that to me has been the most rewarding gift. Aside from sobriety, is to be completely in harmony with the world. All that is, that spirit is now exists here where I thought they didn't. I thought this was like the land of the lost. Lions and tigers and bears. It is the lowest dimension. Do you know what I mean? Like the evildoers, the cast outers, but no, so I need to hear, and I trust that. Then I can easily be influenced through pride, ego, what other people say, what other people think, all the other voices, the outside voices. And if I'm not familiar with that inner voice, somehow I believe that and then I'm lost. And I've done that a few times. I don't know if you've done that, but I've gotten caught up in that. And what other people think.
Yeah, I mean it of course it easily happens, and of course wanting the competitive nature that people can easily get drawn into. For me, that is the purpose of meditation, though, is to be able to hear and differentiate the vibration of love, of spirit, of infinite intelligence, compared to my stinking thinking, and compared to for those of us who uh, had less than amazing childhoods, those things that abuela told us, or that mom told us, or that the teachers, the trauma, the wounds that I've endured, and that are continuously healing. Sometimes it's my first grade teacher, saying, her voice. So for me, meditation is that opportunity for me to be still enough and quiet enough. Again, not to hear with my outer ear, but to actually feel that vibration of spirit, to be in tune with my hunches, not my biases though. Not my
Mm-hmm.
bias or my prejudices or my stereotypes, but divine intuition, that which is not only for my highest and best, but for the highest and best of others as well. And I mean, one of the things I have over here on my desk, the little fidget spinner thingies. And one of the ways that I teach people how to meditate is to, spin this and close their eyes and don't open their eyes until they think it stops.
Mm-hmm.
And and when they finally open their eyes, it might still be spinning or it might stop. But one of the things that they say is like, my only attention was on this, like either the vibration or the sound. And I was able to bring my focus and attention, which is, that's what for me meditation is leaving the world of effects, in essence, bringing my focus. And now that I know how to bring my focus to this, then I start getting curious. What else can I bring that focus to? And I begin to then differentiate and pull away ego and competition, to really get tuned in to that indwelling power and presence. That's my GPS, right?
Yeah,
You
my
know,
intern, kind of
that,
the smoke screen, the tour guide that wasn't necessarily invited. You know what I mean? Like,
hmm
can I listen and trust it? I think it's a matter of trusting. Sometimes I can't most struggle with differentiating between, is it me? That's the whole question. Is it me? Was that my voice? Or was that the God voice or the spirit? It even tells us, right, in step 11, we're going to make obscure choices thinking that I was talking
hmm
to the burning bush. And that's
yep.
okay. It's part of the practice. And I think some people also want to go into this complete state of nirvana after a couple of weeks. I've talked to people like, why am I not blank? The the greatest meditators of all time, nobody's looking to get completely blank because there's
No,
even movement and noise. There's actually a sound and a tone in the nothingness. And
in the
so,
nothingness.
and then I love, as I've been, as I've said, I've done transcendental meditation. I've done all forms of meditation. Um, do it forever for hours, listening to whatever. There's so many methods. But I really appreciate that's meditation 101 in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Because it gives me the focus and attention to the questions. I know it's up for controversy. People believe that's an inventory and they call people and they read it to them. But I've always learned that those questions in the night and in the morning is my conversation with my creator, with God. That I go inward and ask those questions. And it gives me something to focus on, almost like a mantra. Have I been selfish? Where have I been selfish? Where have I been selfish? Where have I been selfish? And things can appear. Do you know, like sometimes I've done a meditation where, and it's similar to me, like inventory in a way, where I was taught to ask, was it Carolyn Mays? Anyway, I was told to ask, where's my spirit? Where are you? Where have I deposited? Almost like leaving my, you know what I mean? I have my resentment over there and I'm waiting for you to stump your toe or something, right? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah, I think it's Carolyn Mays because she's saying,
Carolyn Mays.
if I were your creator and if I told you you needed 100% of your creative energy because the universe only operates through energy, right? In vibration. You need 100%, which is your third chakra, but you have all of your energy deposited in all these situations past, you know what I mean? Future. I want you to call your spirit back and just call. And what's interesting about that meditation is when I'm calling it, I start seeing faces,
I
situations.
left it with this person.
Yeah. And I see them and I get to tell them, your mission is complete. Your mission is complete. Come back home. And calling myself, don't even realize that I'm walking around with only 10% of myself wondering why, you know what I mean? Again, what
Yeah,
are we
why
talking
we're
about?
depleted.
Vibration. Yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, but I've been saying that I'm going to have and I'm going to do, you know what I mean? I've been claiming, why
yeah.
hasn't it happened? Well, where's the energy deposited? And meditation starts teaching me, where am I actually? I think it helps me to know where I'm at.
Yeah. For me, what I am absolutely enjoying, because for many, many years, I practiced transcendental meditation and all kinds of, and it got stale. It got old. It was like time to make the donuts. It was just like,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
going to sit and I'm sitting, right? What I am enjoying now, and of course, there's walking meditations, there's all kinds of stuff, but the thing that I am enjoying now mostly are these like micro meditations. And I don't know if there's a such thing, but I call them micro meditations, just like micro loans. And, they're the small things that when I find that I'm getting flustered or I'm uneasy or I have a question or a doubt, I put my hand on my chest right here and I just, I'll say something like, I know that there's a presence that knows. And that which I need to know, I'll know. That didn't even take 30 seconds. But there's something about my years and years of practice that as soon as I put my hand on my chest, there's this like Woosah. There's this, oh, ya cálmate. It's almost like I've programmed myself in essence that when I do this, I am in that place of silence, of stillness. I'm just, again, like it's almost, again, like you talked about being in alignment, upon awakening. It's that. And for me, the mic, doing that several times a day, especially when I'm disturbed, really helps to bring me back to center. It gives it, like we say in program, you can start your 24 hours at any
At any
time,
time.
at any time. And when I do the micro meditation like that, when I just, take a minute and just do that and recognize that there's a power that knows, and that which I need to know, I'm just trusting that I will know. It's like, oh, there's nothing else for me to do but just like be at rest. Like in step 11, when we're doing that, it says we can rest easy.
See.
We can rest easy because we've learned to trust. We've learned to trust this power and
And I'm less
presence.
likely to have anxiety, fear, worry, right? So
Yeah.
basically, but you talked about being able to now, please, hold on.
What happened?
All is well. There's something happening. She's just taking care of something right now.
I'm enjoying you guys' dialogue. My name is Sinoa. Hi, Sunshine.
Please mute
Sorry.
yourself, Sanoa. Thank you.
I
All
was
is
trying not
well.
to have the alarm go off on the door. So ultimately, when you were talking about being in that moment and having the ability to just stop and do this, does that not come from the practice of, it's like do the uncomfortable until it becomes comfortable. Like it becomes familiar now. It's not such a scary thing, an unfamiliar place to even go within, right? Because if I'm not familiar with what that is, that silence, that pause, then certainly I can struggle. So the practice of just, we got to start somewhere. It's like going to the gym. My muscles are
Mm-hmm.
going to hurt. It's going to be awkward. So it's kind of like, I love showing people just take your time. Like if I just find different things, it's in the seeking. It's like you're saying, it gets stale. I remember with all the losses after Tony and Daddy, I
Mm-hmm.
tried to go in and it was dark. And it was dark. That's what was happening. I saw, you know what I mean? I would go and it was just so uncomfortable because I was seeing my heart broken. Do you know what I mean? The pain, and sometimes I get scared. I'm thinking something's wrong and it's not wrong. I like that thing of a Little Buddha. If you've heard the movies, remember Little Buddha where he was like sitting in the tree and everything was coming at him? I don't know if everybody's seen that movie called Little Buddha. I love that movie about Siddhartha and how he became Buddha. But
Oh, okay.
yeah, yeah. He sits at this tree and all this, his ego self is attacking him and they send lust, influence, and he just sits there and he just confronts all of that as opposed to I immediately want to go, I don't want to look at the dark. That's what happens sometimes inventory, right? I don't want to look at it. Let's keep it buried. Who said it was buried? My whole perception, my outlook upon life is based on all of that. How do
Mm-hmm.
I unravel that untruth? Like Lovey would say, get to
Yeah.
my authentic self. And so it's through the practice of conversation, practicing listening, going in, that eventually being still becomes really familiar. And that I can even be still in the middle of chaos and noise. Because I've had to learn how to find that in the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm is the most calm, where I'm not necessarily looking for a quiet space or a quiet corner or a sacred space. And when all this stuff is happening around me, including you got to put them on life support. You got to take them off of life support. Do you know what I'm saying? What is like these moments? We have to be able to,
Mm-hmm.
so that I can hear, you know what I mean? Like I look for, so I can get alignment. I refer to Daddy a lot. Certainly my sponsors have contributed so much of my spiritual understanding as spiritual teachers. I'm always going to quote Daddy like Confucius, I think. But he would say, you know, Terry, you'll know when you're in complete spiritual alignment when you're walking down the street and a dog jumps out and you just turn and go, dog. If you turn and go, huh, you're not walking in alignment. That's what he used to tell me. That's a practice that. That's like martial arts, man. When you teach martial arts is also meditation, you guys. Like I had to learn, right? Like the movements and qigong and tai chi, the drunken monkey and all that. Daddy to spend months learning the drunken monkey, right? I just want to tell you real quick. So I'm thinking, all right, whatever, Daddy, right? And the drunken monkey, it's a martial art. So you go with all the punches and the movement, you don't resist it. That's why they call it drunken monkey, because he's drunk, right? He acts drunk. And so for months, I'm out there with Daddy doing the drunken monkey, like, whatever. I don't know if I'm gonna have to fight somebody or what. Daddy's preparing me to kick some ass. What's happening? Right? But I kept doing it. And I was like, quality time with Daddy. I don't ask questions, as a lot of times I don't do. A lot of old timers. I was preparing for a ceremony. And this initiation ceremony was going to require some real heavy stuff. And I'm talking about cutting, getting tribal marks. Like it was going to be like intense. I didn't know what was expected. He did. And so when I get into the ceremony, Daddy said he was watching me. Okay. And when I get in, I'm tense because I am blindfolded. I can't see who's there. I'm smelling. I don't know what's happening, right? Different smells. I'm having the whole things. I know there are people in the room. And he said he saw me and he noticed when I remembered what he had done the last few months, right? You know how he noticed that he knew that I got it? Because I was tense, right? Yeah, I was like, and then next you know, I'm going to cry. But I did it, y'all. Oh, that's my daddy. All of a sudden I went, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I went, and he was like, she got it. And the whole ceremony, I did it like, because everything that they did, I was just, and they were saying like, yo, we've had grown ass men up in here that could not get through that. I can't even go to the details of that ceremony. You know what I mean? They were like,
Yeah.
I will say this. Kim had to do the ceremony. When she came out, she was like, I've been on a bunch of dates in my day. But I've never had to do anything. You better not leave me. Wait a minute. She was like, that was a lot. So, because it's anyway, you have to get tribal marks for the other dimension, the other world, whatever. And so, but that it's interesting in the practice of something, just like the man, I know I'm going on, but just like the man that is studying, wants to learn Kung Fu, right? He wants to learn how to fight Kung Fu and he goes to the master teacher and he says, teach me how to fight Kung Fu. And he tells him, go stand like the tree. Months go by. You're going to teach me Kung Fu? Go stand like the tree. He taught him meditation. Stand like the tree. Years go by. He's like, when am I going to learn Kung Fu? Then a tournament comes into town and the master tells the student, go fight him. I didn't learn any Kung Fu. Go fight. And he's able to win the fight. So it's that kind of thing that meditation, gives me, that I'm practicing something and I'm walking and it goes, don't go down that street.
Right.
And that is familiar. It's not the aha that the voice says that. The aha moment is that I listen to it. Right. Without question.
Because the indwelling presence is never silent. And for me, meditation is really about learning to listen to all the ways Spirit speaks to me that I'm totally oblivious to because I'm out here with the noise. But it's not until till I slow down, until I'm still, until I'm silent, to listen, to then be able to go, oh yeah, this is the way. And then from there, that in my walking, in my living, I'm in tune with it. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, here it is again. So now I know the voice and the voices and the vibration and the hints and the intuition more than I've known before. And I just imagine what it's going to be like as I continue to have that practice. And I think that's why I love calling it a meditation practice and a prayer practice, because the more I practice, the more I have progress, right? Not perfection, but the more I practice, the more progress I get in listening, so that when I'm not in a formal meditation or a micro meditation, that I'm in that walking prayer and meditation.
Walking meditation. And then I can
Yep.
hear when someone's talking to me. And I know that that's the answer. I could take what applies, put the rest on the shelf.
Yep.
And I can be able to share. Like, I've seen old timers do that. They're like Cleo or something. I don't know if anybody knows, but I've seen old timers, right? They're like little Yodas and stuff. Old timers will be telling you things about yourself, and I don't think it's just about common sense or their
No,
identification of seeing themselves, that they're like little psychics, you know what I'm saying?
there's
And
a
they just,
knowing. There's a knowing.
yeah, there's a knowing, and they're just telling you,
It's beyond belief. There's a knowing. There's a
yes.
knowing. And that's what meditation provides me, a deeper knowing,
I have a
a deeper
question
knowing.
actually. I now because we're in the top of the hour and I know
Yeah.
that you guys need to leave and my question is going to open more questions that I know. So, first of all, I want to say that what a beautiful thing what just happened right now. T, we're going to send you well prepped to your presentation now that your daddy came to you in these moments for sure. Um, you see, when I heard you both talking, both of you, I think, alluded in my interpretation about prayer as a responsibility that I have as the creative part of me, that responsibility to participate with the creator. Like it's not, do I ask? Do I don't ask? Do I do this? Just be in conversation with your creator and then allow yourself to be in that process of getting to know how your creator, my creator, is talking to me. Because if you ask me, does God talk to you? Oh, good. You don't even know. It could be at 4:00 in the morning, exactly in the middle of waking up and like, whoa, thank you. That what was missing? I get it. Thank you very much. So, but I do want to ask two questions, right? I cannot forget to tell you this. When you talked about abundance, Choksi talks about that idea that heaven is just a new pair of glasses, right? And that's a prayer that I put in my life today. It's like, God, grant me those new set of eyeglasses. I want to see life the way that it is. But the question is, number one, the process of meditation for both of you, you said that it has changed a lot. I'm sure that people would love to know. How do you know when it's time to turn, right? And the second question is, how do you stay in those moments of darkness or pain in meditation? Because I think I used to have the tendency to run away from them, but how do you stay with them today and process them? So talk to us, ladies.
Go ahead. Go for it, Nina, first. I'll jump in.
The change is from the beginning. It was just uncomfortable. My recommendation is that set a timer, just for 2 minutes, and just sit and get in the practice. We're animals, so we're not different than our dogs or our cats and things like that. So the training, it's really about training. No, sit. No, come back. Sit. Stay. Sit. Stay. And even if it's just staying and I'm not doing anything for the 2 minutes, just the practice of coming to sit and to sit and to sit with the purpose of meditation. One of the things that I liked doing was just saying A, B, C, D, and trying to get all the way to Z without my thoughts going elsewhere. And when I recognized that my thoughts were going elsewhere, then I came back to A. So that's kind of how I started out with meditation. Not just always being quiet, because being quiet, I noticed that my brain would go. Now even in just the micro meditations, it really is about, there's a power and presence that knows. And I'm one with this power and presence. It is living in me and around me, and I'm listening, because whatever it is I'm supposed to know, I'm to know. And I just sit still and be quiet. And I just allow to well up that which wells up. But if I find that I'm shopping and I'm thinking about my to-do list, I bring it back to either the breath and follow the breath. And then in pain, I've experienced loss and a significant loss over the last several months. And, in that pain, one of my sponsees says, oh yeah, you da da da, but did you die? No, I didn't die. My mom died, but I didn't die. And through the pain, I'm not going to die because of the pain. What is the gift? What is the gift that this pain brings? And so I asked myself, what is the gift in the pain? The darkness is the same as the light for me. I don't use the good and evil, cause I'm dark, and dark is good and beautiful and, and all of that. So the darkness also has its gifts to bring. They're just different than the gifts that the light brings. And so I just ask, what do you bring? What is it for me to know? What do I need to be aware of? And I just sit in the quiet and I listen for all the ways that life, that spirit speaks to me in answering that question. How about you, Tere?
That's right, Nana. That was good. I want to say ditto.
I love you.
The only thing that, as I was listening, I was like, did you struggle in the beginning with meditation? And again, sometimes I just want to fit in, right? I didn't. What was familiar to me before I came to Alcoholics Anonymous was that one thing that I believe Abuela and Daddy gave me because they couldn't take the bottle out of my mouth. And somehow they knew that if we don't give her she's going to need these spiritual tools that are going to save her. I really believe that they said, we can't change what is happening, but what we can do, and Daddy mentioned it was, what I can do is give her this gift. And then one day, it's going to really mean something or do, you know what I mean? I think it carried me. And so
Yeah.
what attracted me when I came in was I was like, y'all know about the world of spirit? Because I thought it was this other place. You know what I mean? This, I love the ancestors, y'all. I do. I love the ancestors and angels and the spirit. Were like, it's so beautiful. And the stories of angels and like all that. I went to Catholic school. I'm not one that says a recovering Catholic. I didn't have issues. The whole nun thing, I thought they needed to get laid. I thought they were quite bitter. Do you know what I mean? I was like,
They didn't
something
get
needs to
none.
happen. Yeah, something. That's an assumption, but I didn't know why giving your life to God and being Jesus's wife and your unhappy wife. So that I always was puzzled about that. But I liked it. So when I came into the program, what was new was those questions in step 11. Right? Then instead of me immediately kind of going into this, world of spirit, because real quick, mommy used to like, if she did punish me or something, or anybody go to the corner. You know how they used to do punishment where you go in the corner?
Yeah.
I would go in the corner and start talking to all the spirits. It used to piss everybody off. I'd be like, so, as I was saying, before they interrupted me, and da-da-da. And so, anyways, so, I think it was learning just to become open-minded and be a seeker and not be so fixed like I know all about it. And it's in the seeking. I love how Sandy Beach talks a lot about that. And so that to me was new and exciting and exploring. So I help others. When I help others and I've done meditation classes, is just to really be childlike and hopefully let go of the judgment and just play around with all of it. You know what I mean? Don't be fixed. So that's one thing. And then, oh man, I forgot the other question. That fast. What was the other
In
question?
times of trouble or pain.
Oh, maybe I forgot it on purpose. No. So, talking about pain. Okay. because I didn't feel anything before I came into recovery. I was a human doing rather than a human being. For me, it's become important to be okay. Like you were saying, Nena, that
Mm-hmm.
the dark is just as important. It's like yin, they're both necessary. Like in our tradition, we have a thing called Oyekun actually came first. You have Ejiogbe, the light, Oyekun. And people get this letter called Oyekun, which is death and dark, and they freak out. But it's a beautiful thing because there's a rebirth that's happening. Or someone told me sometimes if you see a seed, I picture myself, if you put a seed in the soil to grow something, it's in there, it's dark, but there's something that's happening. And so when I'm in those dark places, I allow whatever that is, not as a bad thing, as an experience, and see it may teach me something or not. It may teach me just to be okay in the dark. And then eventually it shifts. I think I've gotten more concerned where fear comes up for me is when I'm not hearing. That's happened recently. Like I get emotional thinking. I'm so used to hearing. Do you know what I'm saying? I have a
Yeah.
lot of sixth sense. I have hearing, seeing, feeling. So that's more dark to me, and fear comes up when I don't hear because I rely on that more so than just being in the dark, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, to just quickly, make another statement about the dark and the light is, it is said that, and then there was light, or God created the light. So
Yes,
what was there at first is that is God, that
yes,
darkness, that the unknown, yeah. So that's, super powerful for me, the
yes.
closing the eyes,
It starts from
being
there.
in the stillness and the silence. That's actually being at one with spirit, in the at one-ment or the atonement, in the alignment, for
Oh,
me as
wait.
well.
That reminds me of joke. Laughter is that's a big one for me, laughter. That remind me of a joke. I don't know if you ever seen, I don't know if they're memes or whatever. They call them TikTok, whatever they are. But the lady tells her husband, hurry up, we have to go to the hospital. Get in the car, we gotta go to the hospital. And he's rushing to get her, and she gets in the car. And she's like, whenever I close my eyes, I can't see.
Yeah.
Every time I close my eyes, I can't see.
I can't see.
He said it a few times. It took him a minute to get it, right? And then he was like, what? Open your eyes. But it reminded me of that funny meme because I'm thinking something's wrong, right? But you got your eyes closed. And so sometimes I
Mm-hmm.
go in with my eyes closed and then this other eye opens up so I could see. So that's how, although that's funny, but really when I do close my eyes, I've learned I have a third eye. I have another eye, that I can open and go into, and it takes me to see all kinds of things. And being very mindful of sometimes what I'm asking for.
Yeah.
I've gone to so many places and it'd be like, no, I don't want to go back. Anyway.
Yeah,
Well,
I want to
uh-huh.
come back. I want to come back. When I leave my meditation, I want to come back. It's almost like I go there, like my meditation's almost like my school, my instruction, so that I can live my best, like, human life. Because I know that this in the human form is only going to be for whatever time. And so, when I sneak away and I'm in meditation, in that prayer field, in that, like, yeah. Oh, good. I got the goods. Now I can enjoy this human experience. Oh, yeah. Oh, let me go back in,
I know you're
um,
good at that, Nana. I kind of reach for you for that excitement and vivacious attitude about life. I'm still a bit pessimistic sometimes
yeah.
y'all, I'm one of those that are like, I keep saying, if I have one question to ask God, do you regret making man? Because they seem to be the bane of your existence. So I do that dance where, you know, I'm, I'm okay with not coming back here in this dimension.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've seen the other places. And that's why even those that I've lost, I'm not concerned where they are because they're having a great time. Uh, is that I'm left here. And so
Yeah.
my journey in this particular lifetime is to find love and appreciation for the human experience and loving others and being here and
Mm.
being okay in this dimension. And that has been my journey, which why I have to lend myself, right? Because I can find, they call vices to escape from this dimension. Drugs,
Yeah.
alcohol, money, property, press. You see what I'm saying? Relationships. So they strip that from me in my initiation where I have to be fully present and butt naked to experience the world as it is. And greater men than
Yes.
me have been in the garden. Mother Teresa herself, you know what I mean? Thought God had abandoned her. And so sometimes I turn to their teachings to find comfort in my human
Mm-hmm.
experience. That sometimes I'm sad on
Yeah.
the state of the nation.
I
And
think
that's
that's
the
what I'm
I
most
think
grateful for is that there's so many paths and that each of us are on a different path. But I think the most important thing for us to do is to use these tools of prayer and meditation to know the truth
that.
for me. Like you know the
Mhm.
truth for you. And I get to know that, for me. And though they may be different, the way we understand it is through that prayer and meditation,
Yes.
is through our spiritual practices, is through having that connection. I've loved having this conversation with you,
Oh,
Nana.
Nana, we have it all the time, y'all. We do.
Yeah, we do.
I told the professor 6:30. So you have a couple minutes if you still have one or two people that want to ask something. The presentations are not till
Yeah,
7. So
that's what I wanted to tell everybody. If you have a comment or a question, here is your time. We have 5 more minutes in. I am going to have to log out. I'm going to leave Debbie in charge. Guys, if you have a comment or a question, please, this is your time.
great
And
to
I
see
just,
you, Raquel. Thank you for your service. I love
uh,
this speech.
Thank
likewise.
you.
Oh, there you go, Saveria. Here you are. And Debbie, you're the captain today, tonight. Thank you, guys. Don't forget to thank the speakers before you leave. Saveria, go ahead, unmute yourself.
I am. Hi, Teresa. Hi, Sunshine. Thank you so much for your amazing talk today. You guys both really, I don't know, man. You guys kind of rocketed me somewhere. I don't know where I'm landing yet, but I'm so happy I'm gone up there. Um, just the question about, God's will and self-will, right? Like, like I heard you guys talking about sometimes you hear that voice and you think it's God. How do you guys distinguish before the higher spirit, like that's the direction you're supposed to be going in instead of the one that you think is God playing in your head, which it's not? Thanks, you guys.
I'll
Thanks,
give you
ladies.
the easy answer. The easy answer is I try it. If I fail, it wasn't spirit. And if it's successful, I tend to think like Sade, the singer that says God is a smooth operator, and so, yeah, sometimes it's by trial and error and it's like, oh, okay. I heard that tone before. Nope, that's not the voice of God. That's not spirit.
I agree with that. And if God is everything, can I learn from all of it? You know, all of it is relative. All of it is necessary. I'm in less judgment of it. And so I don't get so caught up in what comes first, the chicken or the egg, or is that God's voice? Is it the mind? If there's any kind of parameter, I suppose, is if what I'm thinking only involves self, that it's only about me. See, I have inventory to also help me, right? It's kind of like I get to take a look at where my defects of character are rearing their head. And it's not that there isn't God's voice, it's that I have self-will run riot that, that tells me my intentions and my motives are about me. And so when I hear stuff that's about all of us, or we, I think that's also another simple way I go. Is it me, I, or is it we, us, and them? And then that helps me to be like, perhaps that's God's will because God thinks about all of us, and I only think about me.
Oh, thank you
Yeah.
for your question. And Sophie, I see you have your hand up. We have time for another question. Sophie, can you unmute yourself? Thank you.
Hi. Hi everyone, Sophie. I I just wanted to thank you both for being here and sharing all your knowledge and all the information. It feels so good to be in the presence of other beings that understand and that are on the same journey of understanding and just feeling and just being. And that little, it resonated so much when you said, oh, pick up the flowers or do this or don't turn there or, just get this. And it's like, why do I need to go there? I remember at the beginning, I was like, why? And then I go and then I know why. And I'm like, thank you. Because the more that I'm listening, the more that my days are just completely amazing. But sometimes, it feels like I get to my head and then I screw it up. But you guys are just completely amazing. And thank you so much for being here and sharing all your knowledge.
Thank you,
Much love.
Sophie, for staying. Appreciate you for your words.
Thank you,
I
Sophie.
did want to say thank y'all for having me back. And I jokingly say this, but I really mean it. When my professors say, "Do you have anything else to add, Miss Fair?" I always say I have more questions than I do statements. And I believe the more I develop and grow and I'm seeking and building this relationship with God, the more knowledge or wisdom or information that I get, the less I know. And so a lot of my great teachers and mentors like Sunshine is that when we have conversations, it's not that we're speaking in the terms of just knowing, it's what we're aware of today. That's what I love about it. What we're aware of today, and then let's explore what we learn tomorrow. And so if there's anything I'd like to share with anyone with this idea, talking about God, is that have a childlike innocence of exploration and less judgment, because that's what makes the journey really fun. It's in the seeking. So, yeah, I get more. I'm not on, so I thought I'd just share that. That's why I
Thank you,
enjoy talking.
Nana.
And Nana, that was fun, Nana.
That was
Yay!
fun. Thank
I
you.
love you